Hey guys, this is Stephanie with OverlayMagic, and I'm going to show you how to use this digital backdrop today. We're going to use the heart, but there's other shapes in this kit as well. If you don't already have it, there will be a link in the description below where you can go grab it if you want to follow along. And so this is what we're going to use. I'm going to put this picture here of my son into it, and he's obviously standing in front of the backdrop itself. So we're going to cut him out and then put him inside of this. So let's turn off the layer with the backdrop. I'm going to turn on the layer with him. Come up here and grab this quick selection tool. And then just drag inside of your subject until they're all selected. I'm actually going to zoom in. There's parts here on his arm where it left out. So I'm going to go up here and select the plus and just add in a little bit more of his shirt. Looks pretty good. His ear. Gotta get all these things. Looks pretty good. And then I'm going to subtract some areas. It looks like it's selected too much. So if you go up here and select the minus, and then you can just take out areas like that. Maybe this little bit of the pillow here. That looks pretty good. And then for this part with his hair, if you have a kid with a lot of hair or fuzzy clothes, things like that, you just want to go up here and select Selected Mask. And then grab the second tool here. It's the Refine Edge Brush tool. And then you can just drag this right along the edge. There you go. Looks pretty good. And then over here you want to select Output to Layer Mask and click OK. And there he is. Pretty easy. Now I'm going to turn off that layer and I'm going to turn on the backdrop layer and select it. Make sure it's highlighted. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the inside of this heart. So select your quick selection tool and just drag it around the blue. If there's any places that you want to clean up, like here it didn't select everything, so we'll grab the minus selection up here and then just drag it over the parts it missed. And you can get as detailed with this as you want. This part's going to be covered up by his head, so it's not really important that we get all that. But once it's all selected, I'm going to go down here. Actually, I'm going to create a group, a folder. So I'm going to click on the folder and then click on the mask, and it'll put the mask on the folder. I'm going to drag the folder to the top and put my subject, my son, in it, and I'm going to turn on his layer. So now he's inside the mask in the folder. So if you come up and click on the folder mask again and grab a brush over here, we're going to make it a nice big soft brush. Oops, wrong color. And then grab a white color down here. So you can just click on the black and drag it to white, or I'm going to just flip the two, and there you go. And you can just paint over his head. So his head's in front of it, but his body's behind it. So that's most of it. I'm going to add some shadows behind him just to make it look a little bit more realistic. So I'm going to close this group down and then click on the backdrop layer and add a new layer above it, this little plus down here. And then with my brush selected, I'm going to hold down the Alt key and I'm going to select one of the shadows here that's in the picture, because you'll have a different color cast depending on which colors you use. If you're using one that's purple and yellow, you're going to see different color shadows. So just select one that's in the image, and I'm actually going to make it a little darker than that. So if you come down here and click on the color, and I'm just going to drag it down a little tiny bit so it's darker, and then I'm going to bring the opacity of my brush down to about 30%. It should be fine, and then just kind of paint it in. This is not going to be over top your subject. You'll see it's behind him, so you can just kind of paint anywhere you think the shadow would go. You could build it up and just keep painting more and more. Maybe it's a little darker down at the bottom. I don't know, something like that. Looks great to me. And then I don't want it on the paper here in the front, so I'm going to hold down Control and Alt. I'm going to click on the mask up here on the folder and drag it down to duplicate it, and it'll take it right off of that paper and just be inside the mask. One last thing, we're going to add a little bit of shadow to him as well. So if you open the folder, click on your subject, and then come down here, click the adjustment layer, and select curves, it'll put a curves layer above it. Then you can click this little box inside, it'll clip it to that layer, so it's only going to apply to our subject. If you drag this around and see, it's just changing the color of him. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to drag it down just a little bit, make it darker, close that out, and then hit Control I to invert it. I'm going to grab my brush, set to white, nice and soft, hardness at 0, and then I'm going to paint it right down here. Oh, sorry, let's bring the opacity all the way back up to 100. Oops, to 100, and then paint it back on, so you'll see it gets a little darker. It's just very subtle, see, but it does make a huge difference because it looks like he's back in it now and not, you know, in front of it. So, but that's it. That's all there is to it. And that's it. You're done. I do notice there's a little bit of fringing up here on his hair. See, a little bit of backdrop from before is coming through. And a really quick way of fixing that actually is just to select the mask that's on his layer, hold down Control, click on the thumbnail of the mask, it'll select it, and then you can go up here to Select, Modify, Contract. You can bring this in however many pixels you want. It'll depend on your image and the resolution of it, so 3 pixels for my image might be too much on yours, so you'll have to play with it. But I'm going to do 3 on mine, and it just brings, and you can see, it just brought it in a little bit. So now you'll want to select Inverse, and then grab your brush, set to black. I'm going to turn off my mask just so you can, I'm going to hide it and Control H just so you can see what I'm doing. But, and then you can just paint right over it. It just brings your mask in a couple pixels. See what a huge difference that makes? So, and then Control D to deselect, and you're all done. That's all there is to it. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, please post it below or send me a message. Let me know so I can make these videos better for you. Thanks. Take care. Bye.